Walk through Rome today. Look closely at the ancient monuments, not at what is there, but at what is missing. Across the city, carved into stone arches, marble columns, and temple walls, there are rectangular scars. Clean, deliberate, violent. Places where names were once carved and then systematically chased away. Not by time, not by weather, not by accident, by order. These scars are not damage. They are a message. They are what absolute power looks like after it is finished erasing its enemies. The man who left these scars was Emperor Septimius Severus. He did not just kill his rivals. He attempted something far more terrifying. He tried to murder the very memory of their existence. And for a man who came from nothing, who had no right to the throne, who was an outsider in the most powerful empire the world had ever seen, the only way to stay in power is to make sure no one could remember a time before him. This is the story of the greatest cover-up in the ancient world. And the scars in the stone are the only evidence that anyone tried to stop him. To understand what Severus did, you need to understand chaos he walked into. The year was 193 AD. In a single calendar year, Rome had 5 different emperors. 5. The empire that had ruled the known world for centuries, the most sophisticated political machine ever constructed by human hands, was in complete freefall. It had started with the assassination of Emperor Commodus on New Year's Eve, 192 AD. Commodus, infamous, unstable, a man who believed himself to be the reincarnation of Hercules, was strangled in his bathby, a Commodus conspiracy of senators and palace officials. What followed was not stability. It was a feeding frenzy. Pertinax was declared emperor. He lasted 87 days before the Praetorian Guard, Rome's elite imperial bodyguards, murdered him in his own palace. What happened next was perhaps the most grotesque moment in Roman political history. The Praetorian Guard put the throne up for auction. The Roman Empire auctioned to the highest bidder. A wealthy senator named Didius Julianus won the bid. He ruled for 66 days before being executed. The empire was in pieces. 3 military commanders, each backed by their own legions, simultaneously declared themselves emperor. Pescennius Niger in the east, Clodius Albinus in Britain, and in the Balkans, a battle-hardened general from the North African province of Tripolitania. His name was Lucius Septimius Severus. He was not Roman by blood. He was not Roman by culture. His first language was not Latin. His accent betrayed his origins every time he opened his mouth. The Roman Senate looked at him and saw an outsider, a provincial, someone who had no ancestral claim to the greatest throne in the world. Severus looked at the Senate and saw an obstacle. He marched his legions on Rome. The Senate, with no army to stop him, capitulated immediately. On June 9th, 193 AD, Septimius Severus entered Rome as its undisputed emperor. But being emperor and being legitimature are 2 very different things. And Severus knew it. He had taken the throne by force. 2 rival claimants were still alive. The Senate resented him. The people did not know him. He needed more than power. He needed a story. And he was about to write one that had never happened. Before Severus could build his own legacy, he needed to destroy everyone else's. The Romans had a term for this: Damnatio Memoriae, condemnation of memory. The official legal process by which a person could be erased from history. Not just killed, erased. Their names struck from public records. Their statues demolished. Their face chiseled from every fresco and every monument in the empire. Their coins melted down. Their portraits destroyed. The message was simple and terrifying. You never existed. You were never here. The empire does not remember you. Damnatio Memoriae had been used before against failed emperors and disgraced senators. But Severus weaponized it in a scale Rome had never seen. He began with his rivals. Pescennius Niger, defeated in battle, was executed. Then his name was systematically removed from every public surface in the empire. Clodius Albinus, initially Nemedco emperor by Severus as a political maneuver, was lured into a false alliance, then defeated at the Battle of Lugdunum 197 AD. His body was trampled by Severus's horse. His head was sent to Rome as a warning. His family was executed. His name was erased, but Severus was just getting started. Specialized teams, paid by the state, traveled across the empire with one specific purpose: to erase. They worked on coins first, the most widely distributed image of any Roman figure. A coin bearing a rival's face was a daily reminder that someone else had once held power. Those coins were recalled, melted down, restruck with Severus's face. Then came the monuments, the arches, the temples, the public buildings where names were carved into stonetto last an eternity. Chisels were taken to those names with surgical precision. Not to destroy the monument still served its purpose, but to remove the name, to leave a rectangular scar in the stone where a person used to be. And here is what made this particularly effective as propaganda. Replacing a face on an existing fresco is more powerful than building a new one. Because a new monument says, this man is important. But a replaced face says something different. It says, the man who was here before never actually existed. The most chilling example of this stands in Rome to this day. The Arch of Septimius Severus, built in 203 AD to commemorate his military victories. Look closely at the inscription. There is a gap. A place where two names were chiseled away with such force that the stone itself was damaged. Those names belong to his son, his own son, Geta. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. Because before Severus erased his son, he first atonement himself. Erasing rivals was one thing. What Severus did next was something else entirely. He rewrote his own family tree. The most respected dynasty in recent Roman history was the Antonines, the lineage that had produced Marcus Aurelius, arguably the greatest emperor Rome had ever known. Philosopher, soldier, statesman, a man so revered that his name alone carried the weight of legitimacy. Severus had no connection to the Antonine dynasty, none whatsoever. So he invented one. Through official imperial proclamation, backed by the full legal apparatus of the Roman state, Severus declared himself posthumous adopted son of the deified Emperor Marcus Aurelius. He retroactively inserted himself into a bloodline that had been dead for over a decade. He renamed his eldest son Caracallus Marcus Aurelius Antoninus. He declared his younger son Gaius Publius Septimius Geta Antoninus. On official documents, on coins, on public inscriptions across the empire, the Severan dynasty was presented not as a new family that had seized power, but as the natural continuation of Rome's most beloved bloodline. It was an ancestrally of breathtaking audacity, and it required an enormous supporting apparatus to maintain. Court historians were given the official version of events and instructed to write it. Those who refused it faced the alternative. Public religious ceremonies were redesigned to include references to Severus' divine Antonine ancestry, forcing the Roman people to participate collectively in the performance of a fiction. To bow before a lineage had never existed. To celebrate a connection that had been manufactured in an imperial office by men who understood that the most powerful weapon was not a sword. It was a story. But maintaining that story required increasingly extreme measures. And the most extreme measure of all was waiting at home. Septimius Severus died in 211 AD in the city of Eboracum, modern-day York, England, while on military campaign. He left the Imperetto his two sons jointly, Caracalla and Geta. They hated each other with a ferocity that terrified everyone around them. Within months of their father's death, Caracalla arranged a meeting under the pretense of reconciliation. Their mother Julia Domna was present. She believed it was genuine. Caracalla's soldiers burst into the room. Geta, the younger brother, ran to his mother. grabbed her, held her. He was stabbed to death in his mother's arms. Julia Domna, covered in her son's blood, was forbidden from mourning him. On Caracalla's orders, Geta's name was immediately subject to Damnatio Memoriae. The erasure was total. The erasure was immediate. The erasure was empire-wide. Every coin bearing Geta's face recalled and restruck. Every statue of Geta demolished overnight. Every fresco showing Geta alongside his family, his face chiseled away and replaced with blank stonier, a decorative pattern. The most famous surviving exemplar is the Severan Tondo, a painted family, portrayed from around 200 AD. 4 faces were originally depicted: Septimius Severus, Julia Domna, Caracalla, and Geta. Today, 3 faces remain. Where Geta's face once was, there is nothing. A ghost in the paint. An absence so deliberate screams louder than any presence could. But Damnatio Memoriae carried a cost that Severus, and now Caracalla, had not fully calculated. Roman historians of the era faced an impossible choice. Write the truth and face execution. Write the approved version and become complicit in the destruction of the very discipline they had devoted their lives to. Most chose survival. And in choosing survival, they accelerated the collapse of something Rome could not afford to lose: institutional memory. The accumulated wisdom of how the empire actually worked, the legal precedents, the administrative traditions, the historical context that allowed governors to make decisions, was being systematically destroyed against the names it was attached to. When you erase a person from history, you erase everything they knew, everything they built, every decision they made that others could learn from. Severus had started a Ferretto worm himself, and it was beginning to consume the building. Here is the deepest irony of Septimius Severus's reign. The obsession with erasing others guaranteed his own permanent association with destruction, because archaeology does not lead the way emperors do. Modern researchers, using a technique called reflectance transformation imaging, can now photograph ancient stone and reconstruct the original inscriptions beneath the chiseled scars. Ghost letters. The pressure marks left in stone by the original carving, still faintly visible beneath the damaged Donnaby imperial erasure teams. We can read the names that Severus tried to destroy. We can see the face that Caracalla ordered removed. We can reconstruct a family portrait that included the son who was murdered in his mother's arms. The stone remembered what the emperor commanded it to forget. And in those recovered letters and those ghost faces, we see something that Severus never intended: evidence of the crime. Every chiseled scare is a confession. Every removed name is proof that the name once existed, and that someone was powerful enough and frightened enough to want it gone. Damnatio Memoriae did not erase history. It preserved it in negative. The absence itself beneath the record. And this is where Severus's story connects to something far more contemporary. The mechanics of what Severus built: state-sponsored historical revision, the systematic destruction of records, the forced participation of the public in official fictions, did not die with Rome. Every authoritarian government of the 20th century employed the same playbook. Soviet encyclopedias were updated after each purge, with instructions sent to subscribers on which pages to remove and replace. North Korea's state archives routinely remove individuals who fall from favor. Photographs altered, documents reissued, families relocated and renamed. Digital platforms to allow the removal of content, the deletion of accounts, the algorithmic burial of inconvenient information, at a speed and scale that would have made Severus Pichia-style chisel teams look laughably primitive. The tools change. The impulse does not. Control the past, and you can manufacture any present you choose. Severus understood this in 193 AD, and it remains the most dangerous idea in the history of power. Walk through Rome today. Look at the scars, not as damage, but as data. Every rectangular wound in every ancient monument is a record of a man who was so frightened of being forgotten, that he spent his entire reign making sure others were. Septimius Severus came from nothing, seized everything, and spent 2 decades trying to convince the world that he had always belonged there. He manufactured an ancestry. He erased his rivals. He murdered his predecessor's memory. He chiseled his own son from the family portrait. And in doing all of this, he proved something that every authoritarian eventually proves. You cannot erase what actually happened. You can only damage the stone it was carved into. The names come back. The faces are reconstructed. The records resurface. History is not written by the victors. History is written in the scars that the victors could not quite reach. Subscribe to Historva, because the most important lessons are always in what someone tried to hide.